Hello dear friends, welcome to a new video of weekly vlog. And today it's a very sunny day. This is why I'm wearing my sunglasses. It hits my eyes, the sun, but it's a very nice warm day. Today we are talking about why people arrive to conflict between them, to fight, to argue, and to create conflicts. The first thing I would like to talk to you about and to tell you is something that I read once in a book of Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff was a spiritual teacher that lived maybe 50, 70 years ago, and he had a story in his books that when he was small, he had a lesson received from his father. I think it was a little before his father died. He told him something. I don't remember this detail. He told him like this: I will leave you with this advice. I don't have money to give you some inheritance, but I will leave you with one advice which helped me in my life, and if you will take only this advice, it will be a very big benefit in your life. Gurdjieff said, what? And his father told him this: I want you to do this from now on. If you will arrive to the point to argue and fight with somebody, and somebody is pissing you off or is telling you something, the first thing you need to do is to not answer immediately. Wait first 24 hours, and after give an answer or reply or react or act. Don't act immediately, because it will be reactivity, and because this usually you will regret it.
Mama.
And Gurdjieff was writing that he remembered this for the rest of his life, and before he would say anything to anybody, if it would be to create some conflict, he would think very much before this, and he will take 24 hours first to think about it and then give his opinion. Of course, this is something that the majority of people do not do. They do not wait 24 hours in order to give an answer, but instead they do like this. If somebody tells them like an opposite opinion, or tells them that they disagree, or they arrive in some kind of argument, the first thing usually they say is like, what? What do you mean? I am wrong? And of course, if one reacts like this, there are certain outcomes that come out of this kind of response, and these outcomes are not the ones that we would prefer. In any situation like this, usually the other person becomes immediately defensive, and the fight starts. So why do we arrive in this situation and we end up fighting, conflicting? I will give you 3 reasons why this happens to us, and also 3 solutions that go together, so you will be able to check yourself from now on and have some reminders and some tips for your life. So the first reason why people arrive to conflict is because they do not understand the spiritual aspects of life and how to observe the situations of life through the spiritual understanding and the spiritual perception. Because this spiritual understanding of life says that every situation in life, we could use it as a practice for our personal development. So, to arrive to conflict, to allow yourself to arrive to a conflict, it means that you are missing this point exactly, and You do not take this interaction that you have with the other person, if it bothers you, for example, as an opportunity to observe these aspects inside of you that are triggered, that are challenged, and that they become reactive. So the best advice I can give you about this is to remember always this kind of situations, to take them as a spiritual practice. What does this mean? It means to remember always that if you will become a little bit upset or angry in a conversation or in a communication with a person, always remember that this is the right moment for you to make a spiritual practice and to observe exactly this personality that is suffering in you, that wants to react, that wants to conflict, that wants to answer. Of course, you may be feeling that you are right and the other person is wrong, but you need to remember that the most important thing is for you is to make this as a practice and not just prove yourself right. And the practice, of course, should be to observe yourself and how this part of your personality suffers. You don't have necessarily to accept what the other person tells you and to agree with him, but at least you can stop yourself from reactive, and instead of putting your attention into answering this person and show him the truth, observe, turn your attention and observe in this moment just yourself, that's all. Instead of answering, answer to you. Instead of telling him or her what is the truth and show him or her what is it all about, in this moment observe yourself. This is a spiritual practice and you should have it like a crystallized way of perception to perceive all your relationships and all your communications. Always enter in a communication as the observer. The second reason why usually we arrive into conflicts is the fact that we want to prove that we are right. We want to prove to ourselves and to others that we are right. And this is something that it is unconscious, and we really feel that we need to do this. We really feel that if we prove that we are right, then we will feel good about ourselves, and this will be generally very good. And of course, the truth is that you don't need always to have to prove to everyone that you are right. Because what if you will be always right, then how you will change, how you will see a different point of view, how you will evolve. To need to be always right, to want to prove that you are always right, it creates a false personality in us. Even if we believe that we are right, don't search for confirmation in the eyes of the other people, because then you become attached and you become needy, and then to prove yourself right, it is the path that will lead you to unconsciousness. So accept that if this thing exists inside of you, the need to prove yourself right, that it is some kind of enemy for you. Put it somewhere there in front of you and always have in mind that this is the possibility, this neediness to appear in a conversation, in a conflict, or actually to create the conflict. This idea that I have to make the other person admit that I am right. I have to prove that I am right, and I have to prove to him that he is wrong. So don't do this. Check yourself, and instead of proving yourself right, have a very big goal for you to evolve and to arrive to freedom from all this.
Doesn't matter what they say, doesn't really matter what they do. Baby, got me breathing now, breathing now. Doesn't matter where I go, heart's still open, cannot close. Baby, got me breathing now, breathing now. Welcome to this one-way ride. We've all on it.
And the third reason why we arrive to conflict with other people is because we take things personally. This is a big one, and it is maybe the most difficult of the three for somebody to understand it, to become able to become aware of it, and eventually to overcome this obstacle in communication. We take things personally, we take actually everything personally, because this makes us believe that whatever the other person is telling us or whatever is happening to us, it is on purpose, somehow against us or in favor of us, as if everybody is constantly thinking of us. In reality, the truth is the completely opposite. Everybody is thinking about himself. Nobody is thinking about you. So if somebody is telling you something that seems against you, like a disagreement of some sort and so on, this does not mean that he is actually against you, but this means that he wants to prove something to himself. As we said before, he also wants to prove himself right. So to take it personally means to think that the other person is somehow attacking you because consciously and on purpose is against you, but this is not the case at all. In reality, the person usually may arrive to start a conflict with you or a conversation with you in a negative way because he is trying to defend himself, because he's trying to prove himself right, and because he is taking it personally himself. For example, when I started filming the different videos in places like this, in the malls and so on, walking around with the camera, talking to the camera and so on, it was a proof to me that people really do not care about others, and they are constantly focused on their own ideas, on their own mind, on themselves. Because I was observing, for example, that nobody usually would pay attention to me. People would just, and if you will observe different videos of people who are shooting them in malls or in places where there are a lot of people, usually 99% of people, they pass around the camera and they don't even notice that somebody is shooting a film next to them, or is shooting a video, or is talking. So don't think that the others have you so much in their mind and they are your friends or your enemies. This is like actually our own projection, because also we try to put value to ourselves, so we think that we are the center of the universe. So yes, somebody is or our friend or our enemy. So how we will be sure that we will be avoiding the conflicts and the arguments with the people? We need to remember these 3 points: to not take things personally, to not try to prove that we are right, and to remember that the most important of all is not to conflict, but to make a spiritual practice. Because if we remember again Gurdjieff's advice, Gurdjieff's father's advice to him, Gurdjieff himself, the best way to do about this is to wait, to remember that we should not react, we should not respond, we should not start trying to prove our point, to prove the other wrong, even if we are right in reality and the other is wrong and we know it. Catch yourself that wants to prove, that wants to react, that wants to attack, that becomes upset with the other person. Catch this and stop yourself in this moment, and remember these 3 principles. You must crystallize this inside of you, to remember to do a spiritual practice always, to remember to be conscious and to observe your own ego. Because what is the point to prove the other wrong and you right when your ego is growing at the same time? There is no point in this. Also to remember that if you take things personally, you are just making a mistake, because actually if the other person is wrong, it only reflects on him, it doesn't reflect on you. Nobody is trying to prove you wrong because of you. And the other thing is you to not try to prove yourself right. because by doing this you are just losing the opportunity to evolve. Because imagine that what would happen if you would always prove yourself right. It means you would never change, basically. So crystallize these things in your consciousness. Write these 3 principles down, and every day have them in your mind when you go out. Before you meet some people, you can even write them in a small paper, or you can write them in your arm with a pencil. And when you start communicating and you start losing your temper or something, you enter in some kind of contradiction, some kind of argument, look at your hands that you wrote these things and remember what you have to do. So this is what I wanted to tell you. I'm wrapping up the video here. If you like this video, click the like button. Click also subscribe if you want to see more videos like this and to help us spread this knowledge all over the world. And also you can click the button notifications to have it on, because we release videos like this every week, every Thursday, if I remember well, and you don't want to miss them because they are great videos with great content that will help you to live a better life for yourself and for the people close to you. So until the next time, I will see you in the next video and I will talk to you all. Stay hungry for knowledge, for transformation and for improvement, and to arrive to your destiny. See you soon. What a nice day.